practices to manage change in the factory webcast. My name is David Elliott. I'm with Applied Engineering. And again, we're very thankful that you're able to take a little bit of time to join us today, and hopefully we can show you some new workflows that you haven't seen before. And with that said, I'll be handing this off to Travis Evans, one of our Autodesk experts, and I really appreciate him taking the time today as well to join us and share some of his insights with us. With that said, I'll let you take it over, Travis.
All right, thanks, David. So yeah, just a few little household items we'll take care of right now. Inside of the webinar, you can kind of see Q&A panels. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask any questions there. We'll get to them. We'll kind of pause, check now and again, and also we'll have David Elliott, who's kind of in the background, being able to check any of those questions you have too. So we'll go ahead and get started. So maybe right now for David, if you can maybe mute yourself, I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. Awesome. That's perfect. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, I'm Travis Evans. I'm a technical specialist working in our manufacturing division. And today we want to talk about Autodesk Factory Design Suite. And not just Factory Design Suite, but how we can have best practices to help manage change in the factory. So the first thing we want to talk inside of Autodesk, we talk about digital prototyping, being able to better design, visualize, and simulate our products. So not just from a product perspective, but also we want to focus on how we can do those same things working on a factory floor, how we can better visualize our factory, how we can better visualize the layout. It doesn't have to necessarily be a factory, but how we can better visualize these layouts, how we can simulate real-world applications, whether it's the performance of this line and how it's going to operate, or the actual form, fit, and function of a machine. A lot of the things that all ties down to what we call is digital prototyping inside of Autodesk. You kind of see here whether it's touching the conceptual, the engineering, or the simulation, or today we want to focus more on that digital factory or that digital layout. So we're going to focus on that today. So a lot of the challenges that we see today typically when talking with our customers is trying to not just overlook everything, because a lot of times in 2D, you see two images here, one on the right and one on the left. The one on the left is a typical how everybody's doing layout design today in 2D. It's cumbersome. It's very deep, a lot of detail. So a lot of times, some of those problems might get overlooked. Maybe because we're losing bid proposals because nobody is really understanding what we're trying to do. In 2D, it's hard to detect clashes. When we're talking about adding that third level of dimension, it's really hard to see. Maybe I have this overhead beam structure, this column. How do I know that that's not going to collide or cause a collision with something I'm trying to redesign? So if I'm working in a brownfield project where I'm totally redesigning the building layout, or if I'm doing a greenfield and I have this new building that I need to come into and put new information in there where there's nothing existing. But either way, being able to detect that information in 2D is very cumbersome. Or if I'm spending too much time in that brownfield reproduction where I'm trying to capture the as-built state of the facility because maybe my 2D documents are incomplete, they're inconclusive, and they haven't been updated for years. So there's a lot of different challenges that we see, when we're talking with our customers. But what Factory Design Suite gives you is the benefit to help you improve that business and win more business with your bidding. So taking the kind of a very similar image like you see on the screen, having that compelling 3D imagery to better understand really what's going on. Being able to meet those compressed business project schedules. So rather than having to find those errors when they come secondhand, I can actually capture them up front. Taking to existing AutoCAD, because 90% of layout design is done in AutoCAD today. So how can I leverage the AutoCAD I've been using for 10, 20 plus years and leverage that information moving forward with the Factory Design Suite solution? So hopefully we can help you show some of those benefits today. This page is really textual. There's a lot of information here, but I'll hopefully help you to kind of guide you through it. But basically 4 basic areas when we talk about Factory Design Suite. The concept stage. So when we're doing the initial layout and trying to optimize that and see how our product's going to flow through our given facility. So being able to have some real-time feedback that we can get, again, leveraging AutoCAD data, staying inside of AutoCAD as well. Then we're talking about adding specific assets. So assets are anything from machine equipment to safety fences to actual people, but taking a library of components already built and being able to place them inside of my 2D workspace. So having it really slick workflows where everything starts to come together, and having a library that's already built for me that Autodesk is working with partners to get more machine vendors to put into there, as well as creating their own. And then taking that step and going to 3D. It makes it the click of a button really with inside a Factory Design Suite. So pushing that 2D information to 3D, it's a simple click of a button, having that synchronization working together. And then for any of those machine designers that might be on the call as well, so taking that machine, we're designing it, having great tools to do that with Autodesk Inventor to be able to create those 3D models. But once we have a 3D model, we can make it factory specific, give it specific functionality like adding connectors, so if it's going to connect to anything else. Having some quick, slick workflows, be able to create those assets. And I think one of the biggest keys is creating that 3D visualization, because if we're using those workflows that are going to enable inside a Factory Design Suite, be able to push that information and be able to really start to see how our product is going to flow through that facility in 3D. And we'll capture some of this information. And there's a lot of different products that enable us to do it, but today we want to focus on is the suite, because the suite has them all. So kind of in summary, what we just talked about is talking about the power of AutoCAD, leveraging it. I mean, 90 to 95% of those on the call are probably using AutoCAD today to do their documentation of their shop floor layouts. So taking that, adding the power of digital prototyping. Having 2D to 3D workflows, having it associative, so I can go from 2D to 3D, and then if I make a change in 3D, have it update my 2D drawing. Having, be able to visualize those models, those assets, those creations, and really taking kind of that engineering reviewing stage and capturing those designs, those collision detections before they happen in real time. So first thing we want to focus is we'll get kind of into here in a demo so we can start seeing some of the stuff I'm talking about. We're going to take a look at enhancing our AutoCAD workflows. A, looking at some of the optimization, and B, looking at the asset libraries and what that's going to do inside of that workflow. So I'll switch over here now and start looking at some of the product. So the first thing I'll point out is, it's AutoCAD at the base. Whether you're using AutoCAD Architectural, AutoCAD Mechanical, or even basic, as we call it, vanilla AutoCAD, having this factory functionality built right on top of it. So here we have our factory. Taking a look at how we can better optimize this. So noticing inside of the Factory Design Suite, we get that tab. So here's where those functions, the added functionality we're talking about. A few extra call-outs that you can kind of start to see. So if I want to take a look at, my transportation, my to from, as I'm moving this process and looking at how I'm maybe redesigning, we see a lot of wasted time traveling. So you get some real-time feedback saying, hey, this travel distance is quite large, probably going to cost me some money. So I want to take a look at redesigning that. And the dashboard, what it gives you is a real-time workflow. So as I move this product, I want you to take a look at the little dashboard up at the top. And you start to see, as I move this into a new location, I'm getting some updates. Okay, I see my travel time is going to go down. The distance that my product is having to travel is going to go down. And I can start to see, where those hiccups are. I can see I'm going to increase, the cost of my transportation. So there's information running in the background and just updating for me. But if I wanted to, further increase that process flow, so if I'm looking at this design and I'm wanting to find out, hey, if I wanted to, increase this, what am I going to have to do to maybe up my product by twofold? I can enter in data and get kind of real-time feedback. So if I can see if I'm going from process A to B or B to C, or we'll take a look at this valve set machining. So if I'm going from here to here, how am I going in that? Is it an actual human transportation, or maybe do I want to look at maybe automating that, adding some type of conveyor? You can see just simply changing that information, starting to see how things are starting to update. My time's getting less. I'm saving more money. My cost of transportation is going down. Just getting some real-time feedback. That's exactly what Factory Design Suite is going to allow us to do. But not just from a transportation perspective. If I want to look at actually optimizing my machine utilization. So I have this machine, and is it being optimally utilized or underutilized? So kind of same little dashboard here. we can see where I can set my settings. So if I think, at our place maybe 85% is optimal, anything above that is overutilized. So I can have it set on my settings and how everything's going to work. So I'm looking at the CNC machines. Maybe I need to add another machine. So maybe I just need something to kind of enhance my process time. So if I added another machine, I can kind of see real-time feedback what that's going to do. Really going to start to enhance that workflow. I can go ahead and maybe add specific dashboards onto the screen as well. So I can maybe add this dashboard for this user so I can start to see real-time how things are going to happen. Again, leveraging the power of AutoCAD, I just added some additional functionality. So added some properties to each one of these stations. So it just sets it up as each individual station. And there's properties. So how much time it's going to take to travel, and what's the unload, the load up time. So you can start to see where that information is coming from. And at the end of the day, I can process out reports. I can generate a report and kind of show kind of the previous state versus the now state, and have that information all tied up. So when I'm going to talk to my manager and proposing a new layout or proposing we make a change to this facility, I have some of that documentation backed up to kind of help build my case out. So again, we want to talk about some AutoCAD workflows. So I'll finish up talking a little bit about some of these workflows that we can enhance inside of AutoCAD, and then maybe we'll take a pause, see if there's any questions, and then we'll kind of move on and go back and see some of that 3D workflow. So just allow me to kind of change up my screens here. I'm going to minimize some of these browsers that we're not going to use here, so you can kind of really start to see what's going on. So, I mean, majority of our customers said are using AutoCAD, and probably the majority of them are using something like an XREF. So if I'm talking about a huge facility and I'm wanting to make a change to one simple work cell, one simple location, probably doing it with XREF. So what I can do is leverage those XREFs and make them a little bit smarter. So I can add a little bit more functionality to those as they start to connect into that 3D environment. One of the benefits inside the Factory Design Suite is the Factory Asset Library. So if I open up, our libraries, we can start to see just what I'm talking about there. What are the asset libraries? What does that contain? What information is stored there? How does that help me? So we can just kind of highlight some of the different system assets. So if I'm in the conveyoring business and I have conveyors I need to utilize, I can bring that information in. I have processing equipment, different architectural equipment. Again, just to mention, I'm running this on top of AutoCAD architecture, so if I need to build any walls, windows, or doors, I'm going to have a specific tool palette that's going to allow me to do that. I can go one step further with utilizing some of these assets that are built inside. So if I want to take a look at maybe some of my favorites, I can save some of my favorites. Or I can just start to maybe do a simple search. So maybe something like maybe a 7th axis, we'll search for that. Maybe I have this new robot that I need to add. So we can look for information where that's going to be held. Again, proper retyping allows you to get some of that information back. But so just doing a simple search inside my library, I can start to really see how things are going to enhance my workflows. So this is a 3D model we can see here. I can kind of see who's created it. Maybe if it's something that's I don't have, I can download to my local workstation. So here in this particular process, you kind of see some of these different icons that are representing different things. So the little blue means there's multiple variants of it. So it comes in different sizes. So we kind of see what size is being placed. But it's just working very familiar like a block or a smart block. So now you kind of start placing information in there, bringing it in, dragging it, dropping it, really starting to add that detail. If I wanted to change it, if it's part that's going to change, I can simply just go back and kind of change that at any time. You can see it update. It's working much like a smart block, but you can see a lot of the benefit once I take this and want to move it to 3D. So maybe I'll look for a welder. Again, so utilizing some of those basic functionalities. If I don't have that asset, I can simply just, again, grab it from the cloud, bring it in, and I just really start to work with those. But just dragging and dropping. You kind of see I'm just bringing the commands in, maybe positioning it how I want it to be positioned, but all the same tactics I'm using today in AutoCAD. So like making simple copies and placing. I mean, nothing's going to change because it's AutoCAD. I'm just adding some additional functionality. Maybe another good one to start with is let's do a roller. This one will be really powerful once we kind of move into 3D and you start to see how it's all going to work together. So let's bring that in here. And you can see I'm just grabbing from my assets, dragging, dropping, placing them into my design, and really start to bring everything together. So now I have these assets. I got a few things, I just dragged and dropped them, but what's the next step is how do I move this from a 2D layout to a 3D layout? What we're going to do is just simply sync that information, and as we sync it, it's going to prompt us, say, hey, you need to save it, so we'll go ahead and save it. What it's going to do now is generate that information. It's generating a connection to my 3D file. So those assets that we brought in, they're just representations of actual 3D models. So if I have a 2D asset, it's representing something that was built inside of 3D. So they go through this process of syncing. What it's doing is just pulling up that information, and that's really the sauce that holds the factory design suite together. As you can start to see, it's just updating as you'll start to see as the screen refreshes. But now I'm getting that 2D drawing, and I can see the layout. And now if there's 3D content that's tied to it, it's going to process that information as well and update that for me on my screen. So really some nice workflows to start to move, not just enhance my 2D process. You've seen some optimization, bring over all that information into that 3D space. But now I have a 3D model. So we'll pause here, and I'll just go ahead and check that to see if we have any questions. So doesn't look like anybody's entered any in the question panel. So if you have any, just feel free to enter them into the panel there, and we can take a look to see. So we'll go through, and I'll just kind of continue on. But just feel free to add that information into those questions, enter your questions in, and we'll get to you. So we talked about working inside of 2D, optimizing those workflows. We demonstrated that. So moving to 3D, we showed how easy it is, just a simple push of a button to take 2D assets that are created and bringing them into that 3D space. It works both ways. So if I update that model inside of 3D, add some more assets, add some more components, it'll actually push that information back to 2D. So here's where we're starting to really empower the user. We were breaking down a small section. That's really where these extracts are really come into play, because these extracts are going to allow you to create a substation. So I'm just working on that small information, because as everybody knows, once you go to 3D, there's a lot more data in there. So be able to better manage that, working in a smaller section of that factory. Really great workflows to enable us to do that. And as we're going to see is those assets are going to be even smarter inside of 3D. So then move over to 3D, and we can start building those assets. As you kind of saw before, I've taken those assets, I can pull them from the cloud. So there's an actual factory asset warehouse that resides on the cloud. So I can have any other factory design suite user can publish that information to the cloud and make available. Autodesk publishes assets all the time. I think about over 200 every quarter that we're actually adding with releases. So 200 a quarter, so that's about 800 a year that we're adding. We're working with vendors to get them to add more information, as well as you can create your own. So you're never just limited to what's in the box. You can always add to your own. So we're going to go through and show some of that process. How do I work with these assets better inside of 3D? And so for that, we're going to hop into Inventor. So Inventor is a 3D CAD package that comes with Factory Design Suite. You can kind of start to see that information. So now because I need to open up these tool palettes to see my factory assets, and the same look and feel like you saw before. I have my user assets. If I've defined anything here, I have my system assets. I have, I can look for different products. So one thing I'll do is we'll go ahead and look at one of those rollers and start to show how we can add additional functionality with these rollers assets. So as I bring this in, you'll kind of notice there'll be these little connectors. So it works very much kind of almost like Lego blocks. I call it our Lego block functionality. So here we can snap, and again, so rather than having to worry, if you're familiar with like a 3D model with initially creating those constraints, I'm just going to simple snap fits are going to get me where I need to go. Everything's going to be connected. And also, if I look at this process and the information that we have, pull up those tool palettes again. Let's look at an additional one, some of the properties that are built inside. So if I look at here, I have different properties that I make available. So as in publishing this asset, and we'll show you how to do that, it's really slick. But if I change the length of this conveyor, and I wanted to make it 125 inches or 125 feet long, you can start to see how it's going to build that information up, update that model, and actually have some more smarter functionality. So you can kind of see, let's get a better angle on this. So here you kind of see, I've added additional supports because it knows it's this long. It needs to add additional supports. Other things, so if I change the width, because these are going to be connected together, and I update the width of one, that little connector, that green connector node you saw, it's going to pass that information along to other parts, other assemblies inside of my drawing. So as this updates, refreshes, we can start to see how that information is going to be passed downstream. So really great to start enhancing our workflows that we've made available inside the factory design suite, not just working from a 2D perspective, but how those are going to work in 3D. So really giving us that information that we need. So let's switch back over to Inventor so we can kind of see that and how that was updated. So now I can definitely see visually it's bigger, but now everything I made those changes to are going to start to propagate along the same workflow. So now this is limited to, again, what's out of the box. So maybe if I wanted to search for another robot, and again, maybe there's going to be a platform, it's going to be, a piece is going to be connected to it. Let's look for, do another search here, see if we can find some of that information. So if I wanted to make a connection and have it update, again, I have that information. If I wanted to look for maybe something like a, something that's not inside of the factory assets. So let's go if I want to actually insert a model. So here inside the factory workflow, maybe I'm working with a subcontractor. He's creating maybe this overhead structure with some ventilation. We can go ahead and look for that information that's going to be stored inside of here. So maybe if that link looks broken, let's go ahead and look for inside of here. So what this is going to allow you to do, so rather than if you're familiar with 3D, you've seen 3D before, really nice workflow within Factory Design Suite. It kind of gives you a bounding box, lets you know how big that asset's going to be. And so as I'm placing it, I'm going to have some nice options of how I can start to put this information in. So maybe putting information in, I can have those workflows. Working very familiar maybe from like a 2D perspective. Maybe I'm more comfortable from like a top view. So really giving us that opportunity to place that information into our design. So here where I have the detailed information, I started with some assets. I brought them in from AutoCAD, and I brought it into Inventor. It's just updated because they're connected through this factory assets. So the 2D and 3D assets inside of Factory Design Suite are connected. So now we've brought in other models from, we got this overhead welding structure. It's got this nice little mezzanine, maybe some heating, some ducts, some air ducts. Someone else might be doing this. So I get this information, I can bring it in, or maybe something I'm designing. Again, giving you the flexibility to bring that information in. But what happens if I want some of that smart functionality, giving some of those options, some of those variants? So if I have that, like that table, the table came in different lengths, came in different widths. How do I create that information, that smart intelligence inside of something like Factory Design Suite? So as simple as taking those assets and populating that information that you need. So if we look at, let's go back and maybe we'll take a look at this, adding a drill press. So this drill press, so one way we can think of it is different configurations on a table. So I have multiple head units. So I have maybe one, maybe two, maybe three, maybe the height of that table is going to be different. So really just taking the parameters that are driving the 3D model and leveraging that kind of on the cloud. Or locally. So I can publish it to the cloud, I can publish it locally. So here are my parameters that are going to be driving that information. what the benefit here is I'm going to have one file that represents all the different iterations. So as I look at these properties, I can define landing surface. So as you notice, I drag that information on, it just kind of snapped to that floor. It knew where that factory floor was, so that's the first step I can do. If I want to connect things together, you can see I can define those connectors. I can place where those green connector dots are going to go. And if I'm looking at adding, specific variants, I can see what parameters I want to give to the user as I start building that information out. So here we can see that I have maybe a 2, a 3, and a 4 spindle. Maybe we'll just add a 5th one. I'm just adding another line item as I can enter that information. I can maybe give my users drop-down functions, or maybe I can give them specific hard-coded values. But what it's doing is just leveraging information that's already in the design, kind of publishing that information and making it available when I'm bringing it out of that asset. And just publishing it as simple as just selecting the information that I want to have inside of there. And this is really where it connects the 2D and 3D together. So here I have this 3D model, and I want my 2D representation. So what it's going to do is going to capture that top view representation. If there was maybe a sketch in there that I wanted to represent maybe a lighter weight version of that, I could do that as well. So let's publish this to my specific folder. Here you can kind of see I can choose to make it available for me and just the people in my facility, or I can publish it to the cloud. So I get some different functionality. Or for example, if this is something maybe it was an overhead conveyor unit, I could choose where it's going to go to and where that snapping plane is. So just have that information, and what it's going to do is going to make those updates, create that DWG. The information is going to reside both in the 3D space as well as in the 2D space over inside of AutoCAD. And really that's the connection point. Because those assets hold it together, that's how I can automatically populate that information both from a 2D perspective and a 3D perspective. And as you've seen, I'm not limited to what's inside the box. What comes with Factory Design Suite, I can also take that information and add to it. I don't have to use assets, so we highlighted that workflow as well. So if we maybe hop back as that processes, we can kind of review some of that information that we did inside of Factory Design Suite. So we started in AutoCAD, we sunk it into Inventor, took the information, brought it in. So really what the next step would be is to really start to analyze this information. So if I have information coming from multiple parts, so if I'm working with my architect who's designed this inside of Revit, maybe and I have a piping engineer, there's overhead piping. So taking all that information, start to aggregate it into one simple location. As you mentioned, modeling in 3D gets very, very detail-oriented. I have all the nuts, bolts, and for each machine, and I don't need that in a factory representation, so I can simplify that out. There's some workflows inside of Inventor to do that. But as I start building, 100,000 square foot facilities, that's going to be a lot of 3D data. So what we can do is leverage a tool like Navisworks to really aggregate those and make those files more manageable. But even inside of Navisworks, we'll take a +1. Take that information and start to be able to do some walkthroughs or fly-throughs. So we can actually fly through the facility and see how our product line is going to interact in that other space. Doing things like collision detection. Because we mentioned maybe I designed this machine inside of Inventor. I put the layout of that small section together inside of Inventor, but I didn't have the beams, the columns, the supports. They weren't in there, so I'm not quite sure if that's going to cause a collision. Bring that inside of Navisworks, something where I capture that information. I can leverage that and bring that in and run the collision detection. So I can say, is this machine, this layout, going to collide with anything else in the facility? Also, if doing any kind of simulations, so kind of seeing how this is going to be built through sequentially, what's the process. So if I'm putting this together and I'm redoing it, which part has to come out first. I can see that sequentially, see it animated to make sure visually that, yes, this makes sense and how I'm going to work in this process of this redesign. So here we saw that asset. It's been completed. Let's throw it in and kind of see how it would work inside of 3D. And then we're going to take that information, we'll sync it back over to AutoCAD and kind of complete that workflow. So here we kind of see my assets. We saw the different variants, the 1, 2, 3, and 4. As I bring this in, we mentioned we brought that information and that factory floor setting, so bringing it to be able to kind of snap to the floor. So we will put this in here. Kind of see there's this two-headed unit, but I can, the same way I did inside of AutoCAD, as I can change that kind of on the fly. I have this nice little triad, so if I want to reposition it when I bring it in, allows me to do that. But because this asset is, has that information stored, and I want to change that variant, and maybe I want to go to that three-headed unit or the four-headed unit, it's just simply selecting that variant, from my drop-down, having that information just simply update my model on the screen, and then I can take that information and push it back over into AutoCAD. So we saw the workflow going from 2D to 3D. Now we want to really start to look at that workflow as kind of everything updated here. Excuse the delay a little bit with the GoToMeeting, but now you kind of see that information is all stored. I published that asset, just one model, but now I have multiple representations stored inside of my library. So we've added some features, changed some widths and things, and now I need to update my 2D drawing before we kind of look and see how that's going to work in an overall facility. So now just updating that information, sending it back over to AutoCAD to really complete that workflow. Because we talked about bidirectional associativity, as you kind of watch, it's kind of nice here. It gives you a nice little visual. So as I'm updating that information, the first thing you'll see is it'll re-update that 2D overlay. So now any changes that were made from that original layout, maybe I made that conveyor a little bit wider, added an additional conveyor that was connected to it. Again, updating that information for me, so the 2D representation is always going to be connected to my 3D representation. And that's the benefit that Factory Design Suite gives to you, is that connection. Because yes, I can buy AutoCAD, yes, I can buy Inventor separately, but when I buy them together in a suite, it really starts to help them talk better together as I'm just updating that information now, bring it back over into the 2D space. So I'll take a pause here while it's looking to be a good opportunity to kind of check my questions, see if there's any questions. Looks like nobody has any questions for me, so feel free. I mean, ask any questions. We'll have a little time towards the end as well. But now you kind of see I've updated that drawing. I saw that little referenced information. I'm going to pop it back over in AutoCAD and really start to see, what it looks like to make sure that everything updated associatively. You can kind of see the green here in my layout. It's also going to represent that cell over inside of AutoCAD. So having everything associative, it's going to work to my benefit. All that information's there. I have my 2D representation. I go back to that master level. Because I'm using those XREFs, I just need to update that information. Again, the XREF just referencing another drawing that's somewhere else. Now that overall facility is up to date. But now I need to make sure that this facility, this new section I've created, isn't going to interfere with the overall building. The building's not modeled up inside of here in AutoCAD, so I'm going to leverage something like Navisworks. Navisworks would allow me to take that overall facility. You can kind of see the lighting, the beams, the columns, the headers, everything that's represented inside of here. But now, as I walk through this facility, I can actually get an understanding of what my facility looks like. So I can see here there's one machining section. As I walk through, I can see kind of where is that new machining area that we were looking at. So here's that space that we're redesigning. I've taken it out, now I'm putting something back in. Creating those connections inside of Navisworks is really easy, allowing me to take those working cells that I created. So here we have that 3D working cell. I saved that information. I brought it back over. And what Navisworks is doing right now is it's really simplifying that model. That's the power of Navisworks, is you can take what I've already simplified inside of Inventor, but simplify it one step further to really create a more manageable file. Because we're talking again about these 100,000 square foot facilities. Got a lot of detailed information in here. I want to be able to manage it and get the performance that I desire out of it. So the first time it take maybe 30 seconds or so, update that model, bring it in, but the next time it's just going to open like that because it's carried that reference file that's leveraging inside of Navisworks. Another benefit of Navisworks is because it connects with the Autodesk family of products. So if this building was designed in, say, Revit, and a change was made to that building and I needed to update that model, Navisworks is going to allow me to simply update that model, those references, so I don't have to go back and wonder what CAD package it was. I can see that information and kind of have everything update for me. So here we can kind of see I got this new machine structure in here. It was designed maybe inside of something like Inventor. So again, because it was designed inside of Inventor, I need to make a change. I can go back and make that change. Maybe I can visually look around, see if there's any interferences, but instead of something I may not be able to catch with my eye, I can actually run a hard collision check. I can have this as hard or as soft as I want. So maybe the specifics of this robot, for instance, is just going through the motion. It needs a clearance space, and I want to be able to calculate that. I can do that with the collision detection. So here, if we see, I want this specific unit to see if it's going to collide with this unit, and I can run a test. What it's going to do is going to take me to that instance where that collision is happening. So here I can see that indeed I have a collision. I have 3 or 4 of them. It can take me to where that's happening. I can run a markup. I can measure that information. Here in my reviewing section, I can say, hey, how far is this, so I can know what I need to do to make that change. But all running that information, just simply 2 different CAD programs. So this piping was maybe done on Revit MEP. The duct here was done in Inventor. So giving me really that feedback that I'm looking for inside that design. So I mentioned I can make that change, go back to Inventor, have it update associatively inside of Navisworks. The last part of visualization is, so if I want to create something like an animation or a rendering of that facility like you see here, there's two different tools that Autodesk has. So the first one here I'll show is Autodesk Showcase. Showcase is a quick tool to kind of maybe look at, maybe not the entire line, maybe want to look at pieces or portions and just create a nice rendering of that unit. I can create some animations in here. As you kind of see a little walkthrough, a kind of a roll by, see how this all works. Really start to better understand. Send this information out to my customer, maybe send it out as an AVI, maybe render a nice little image, give them kind of the opportunity to kind of see how it's working. Also, if I have different changing of colors, or maybe changing of positions, or maybe I want to swap this out for another part, maybe put it inside of my user's environment. Something like Showcase is going to allow you to do some quickly reviewing tactics to be able to really start to see how your product's going to work. If I want to take that one step further, that same assembly line, but maybe see how it's going to actually work and feel, be able to animate those robots, animate that conveyor lining sequence, we can kind of see with something like 3ds Max that's included in the suite, really start to understand that digital factory. I have a better understanding of how my products are going to work, interact together. I can create those AVIs, render it out to one level of quality, maybe something I want to publish onto my website. But here you can kind of see the beauty behind the ending. So different ways we can start to leverage that information. We showed it visually inside of Navisworks. We're going to do some walkthroughs. We're going to do some fly-throughs. Inside of Showcase or 3ds Max, we can create those animations, those renderings. And really that's kind of how we kind of come together within the suite. It's taking all that information, pushing it kind of through the facility. And kind of the end, we'll kind of break down again what we saw. So Factory Design Suite, it comes in 3 different versions, so not to confuse you. But what we show today is basically the ultimate package. So Factory Design Suite Ultimate, which comes with AutoCAD, AutoCAD Mechanical, AutoCAD Architectural, comes with Inventor Professional, comes with Navisworks Manager, that allows you to run that collision detection. Some other great tools that it also includes that we didn't show today would be something like Autodesk Recap. And what Recap allows you to do is start to better capture those facilities. So as we talked about the manual information and creating that documentation, Autodesk Recap is going to allow you to work with point cloud data. So point cloud data, being able to go out, take a scan or take some pictures, multiple pictures or multiple scans, and create actual points of the actual physical representation. So a lot of times in those brownfield facilities, be able to capture the as-built state of that facility. So rather than manually going out there with the tape measure, measuring all that information, remodeling, redesigning, adding walls, things like that, point cloud is going to allow us to grab that information, bring it in, and really start to get to work. And that's something that recap allows us to do, is to how those point clouds are handled, what information we want to include or exclude from that. Recap would allow us to do that. So in short, kind of what we showed today before we open it up for any questions is we took that AutoCAD drawing and we built on top of it. So again, 95% of you probably do AutoCAD layouts. How can we leverage that today? We showed how you can optimize the layouts. We showed how you can add additional functionality with the asset libraries to start to better control your blocks and give them a little bit more functionality. Showed how that connects with Inventor. So we can go from 2D to 3D, and we can go back from 3D to 2D. And then inside of Inventor, we built up those assets. We took those machines maybe we're designing in-house, populated them with a little bit more of intelligence, and really made it easy to kind of place and drag and drop inside of 3D. And as we kind of got to where we needed a bigger facility, we needed to add some information from our architects, we brought that into Navisworks. Inside of Navisworks, we did some quick walkthroughs, some fly-throughs, did some collision detections, showed how we can do some markups and measuring, all from a digital file. Again, benefit there, allowing us to capture that information up front. So rather than having to go through, figure out that pipe's going to run through my duct after I built it. Capturing that information digitally, the advantage of digital prototyping in a digital factory facility. And then finally, showed how we can create some nice material, whether it be for marketing purposes or for better selling our units to our customers with something like Showcase or 3ds Max. So with that, I'd like to open back up the conversation to see if anybody else has any questions. So maybe now, Dave, if you want to unmute yourself, I think we'd be good.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. I don't think doesn't seem to be any other questions, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. A couple of things I want to mention before we let you guys go here. Make note that upgrading anybody from AutoCAD to Factory Design Suite here through January 24th, Autodesk has a promotion on that at 25% off off the software price of those. So if you're interested in pricing, or if you want to see how Factory Design Suite can help your particular factory or some of the planned additions or new facilities that you guys are looking at, please contact us and we can make sure to show you exactly how Factory Design Suite can help you. Last thing I wanted to mention before I let you guys go is upcoming webcasts that we have coming up here. Product Design Suite on December 16th, Vault Professional on January 9th, and on February 4th we also have Inventor for experienced 3D CAD users. That class will be showing off the first chapter of that training class that we offer and giving a little bit deeper insight into Inventor. So if, as always, if there's any of these training classes or webcasts that you want to get more information on, please contact us, or you can find us on the Global Event Planner on Autodesk website. So once again, thank you, Travis. Really appreciate the really nice demo and demonstration of Factory Design Suite today. And again, thanks to any of the customers that joined us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.